Hello everyone, here we go again. Our topic for today, Friday, is writing quadratic functions in vertex form. Uh, this topic shouldn't be too hard because you already have seen this before and you'll see what I'm talking about. But as always, our topics start with a warm up, with a do now. And the do now is very important, guys, because that leads you through the new lesson. It will help you to find out the answer for the topic of today. So to begin with, remember, I'm giving you a graph there with two different functions, okay? They both quadratics, they both happy faces, and I'm labeled here the first one. The function f of x equals x squared or y equals x squared. Remember, that's just function notation. This is the main function, okay, for a quadratic. I want you to become familiar with the name main, or the parent function also. It's also called, because we're going to do transformation later, and that's also called parent function. Because what is a parent? Because that term makes this a quadratic function, all right? You see, it doesn't have the linear term and it doesn't have the constant. It doesn't have to have it in order for that to be a quadratic, okay? Now, if I add the middle term, that will be incomplete. If I add the middle term and the constant, that will be like the standard form. But remember, become familiar with the word parent function, okay? Because when we do transformation, that's what we're going to call them parent function. Okay, so what I'm asking you here is this. Name the vertex of the function f of x equals x squared, which is this one right here, okay? They're asking me for the vertex. Remember, guys, okay? Again, this is the parent, okay? And the vertex is right here. It's a minimum. Is where the parabola turns back up again, okay? It comes down, it reaches the minimum, and it bounces back. So that's 0, 0. So the vertex of the parent function is 0, 0, okay? And also the axis of symmetry, the ask will be x equals 0. Not only 0, remember that x equals 0, but here they're asking you for the vertex, not for the axis of symmetry. Now, we're gonna work now with the second one. This will be like, I would say, one of the parents' functions kid, because everything starts from here, and I'm gonna explain to you why. So they're asking us to name the vertex of the second quadratic function. They're talking about this one, because if you notice here, there's no name here to identify that. So the vertex is right here, which is also a minimum. But what happened? What is the value of x here, or the axis of symmetry? If you go up this one, you're gonna see that is -1, okay? So the axis of symmetry is -1, and when I combine that with the value of y, which is here, all right, this is the value of y, that is -9. So that's my vertex, okay? The parent function vertex is 0, 0. That means the origin. And the vertex of the son of the daughter, all right, of the parent function is -1 and -9. So just by looking at this, what happened was this. The parent function moved one path to the left, then it went down 9 spots. We're going to be looking at transformation next time, so get used to that. Remember, parent function. But let's concentrate on the lesson for today. Vertex of the parent function is 0, 0. Vertex of the second one is -1, -9. And now they're asking for the zeros of the second function, talking about these ones, okay? Guys, remember, the zeros means roots is the same thing. And remember, guys, roots and zeros never goes in parentheses, okay? The roots, you can write it separate. If you notice here, you have -4 here, or it's -5. Yeah, -4, 1, 2, 3, and +2, all right? So that will be a good answer. That's why on the quiz, if you put it in parentheses, I put it incorrect because it's not an order pair, all right? An order pair is formed by an x value and a y value. And the roots are both x values, so don't get confused. Or if you want, you can also write it in brackets, all right? Which will be -4, comma 2. Now, that one is correct, but never parentheses. So now look, What I'm asking you now is to write the equation of the second function, okay? So they want us to write the equation like that. So what you have to do, that was also something that you're supposed to do on the homework that you're supposed to handle in today, all right? If I give you the roots, it doesn't matter which one you use. You have two methods. Remember, you have the reversal FOIL and you have the sum of the product and the sum of the roots and the product of the roots. So I like to use the reverse of FOIL because most of you are more familiar with FOIL. So if those are my roots, okay, so I'm going to go in reverse. So I have to find factors. That means that if one of the roots is -4, that means the factor has to be x plus 4. Because if that's negative, that becomes positive. And if x is equals 2, so the other one is going to be x minus 2 because that's going to change. Remember, that's what it's called reverse because now we're going in reverse. From here, you will go to there, but now we're going backwards. So how will you do that? Doing the FOIL. X times x is x squared, x times 2 is negative 2x, 4 times x is positive 4x, minus 8 equals 0. Now remember, because they're asking me to write the equation, so I have to write f of x equals x squared, and those which are like terms, when I combine them, will give me 2x minus 8, and that's my function. Or that's my equation, it's the same thing. So remember, this is the parent and that's one of the kids. So I already answered my first four questions, all right? Now, what I want you to understand now is this, guys, okay? There's part E and part F, but this one, we're supposed to do it together because you have to know what the difference are. As I told you before, standard form, you see? Standard form. A here is 1, B here is 2, and C is -8. So this is the standard form. Now what we're going to do today is going to do vertex form. So the vector form, when I ask you to write something in vector form, that is vertex form, this is how it's supposed to look like. Not like that. Okay? So you have to read the question. If I give it to you in this form, you have to convert it to this form. And if I give it to you like this, you have to convert it back to that one. But just read the question. You're not going to do both. You got to do one or the other, okay? So another thing, here we know that this is the vertex. H, the vertex for when it is written in this form will be the value of H and the value of K. So the only difference is that the H values always will change. So these two values will make my vertex. And I explain to you how that works. Okay, so now what they're asking me is, write the vertex form, okay, that means in this form of the quadratic function, of the second quadratic function, talking about this one, right? In the vertex form, using the vertex found on part B. So on part B, I found the vertex from the graph that was -1, -9. So if the vertex, okay, is -1, -9, I can automatically write the vertex form of the equation. So I will start with f of x equals, remember, the value of a here is always 1 because you don't have, so far we don't have any number in front of that. So I'm going to open my parentheses, going to be x. Now remember, guys, okay, because my formula here is negative, right? It's minus h. And the value of x here is negative, that means that my h value is going to become positive. So this is my h and that's my k, because that's what the vertex says. Okay, the vertex says, so that's when I found the vertex, that's my h and that's my k. It's like x and x, but it's a new value. All right, now square, that's part of the formula. Now remember, guys, plus, because the value of k is -9, that never changes. So that will remain negative no matter what. So I could have wrote it like this for the first time. Because remember, we never like when you leave like double signs, like plus minus 9. So remember, it's just for you to know, okay? H always changes signs. K never changes signs. All right? So only the H. So if you know that, you can save yourself a lot of headache. So we already wrote the vertex form of the second function, okay? We have the standard form, and now we have the vertex form. So these two are exactly the same. Now, this is when it becomes a little not complicated because you're supposed to know this. Now they're asking us to write the vertex form of the second equation, but they want us to use the standard form, the one that we found on part D, okay? So every time they ask you to write the vertex form, and they give you the standard form, we have to use your favorite method. Use completing the square. Okay, you have to use completing the square method. So every time they're giving you the standard form and they want you to convert that to vertex form, all right? So it's like when I give you the equation of the line, that I will give it to you in a standard form and I say write the slope intercept form. It's the same thing. So then, because they're asking us to use the standard form, which is this one right here that we found in part D, all right, I'm going to rewrite it here because I have to start working with that. So f of x equals x squared plus 2x minus 8. So from standard, from this form, I'm going to go to this form right here. So how am I going to do that? Completing the square. Do you remember when we complete the square that we have a little formula that we have to use, right? Okay, so that little formula, remember, supposed to be adding b divided by 2 squared in both sides of the equation. Remember that, right, guys? So what we have to do, we have to add that. So here, first, we have to make sure the 8 travels to this side, because that was the only method when you don't have to have the equation equal to 0, remember, right? So in this case, you're going to keep the f of x. Now the negative 8 becomes what? Positive 8 equals x squared plus 2x, all right? Remember, the only thing that we do the last time that we don't have the f of x, remember? But here we have to keep it. So now, the value of b here is what? Is 2, right? So what I'm going to do is 2 divided by 2 square it. 2 divided by 2 is what? 1. And 1 squared is 1. So what we're doing is we're adding 1. Okay, this 1 right here, we're going to add it in both sides. So plus 1 plus 1. Let's do our operation. So we have f of x plus 9 equals x squared, right? Plus 2x plus 1. Now, the purpose of completing the square is that this side of the equation becomes a perfect square trinomial. And everybody should remember how do we write perfect square trinomials. So this is what we do, all right? We keep the x, all right? We keep the sign of the middle term, which in this case is plus, and we divide the middle term by 2. What is half of 2? 1, okay? We put the 1 and we square that, because 1 plus 1 is 2 and 1 times 1 is 1. Bring down the rest. All right. So the only thing I have to do now is now I have to bring back the 9. Okay. So the 9 has to go to the other side, remember? So my final answer or my equation in vertex form will be f of x equals the right side x plus 1 squared. Now the 9, because it's positive and it's traveling back to the right side, becomes negative. So that should be your answer for part F. So if you notice, guys, we have the same answer. All right? So these two are exactly the same, but I use different methods. From here, the only thing I use the vertex, which is easier. And from here, because they gave me the standard form, I have to do the complete in the square. So this is what we're going to do today. All right? So let's continue and let's do a few problems. Listen, be very careful because in the homework, the only thing they're asking you on the first 3 is exactly something like this. All right? Name the vertex of each following functions. Just the vertex. Just name the vertex. Remember, the vertex is h and k. And remember, h, what happened with h? Changes sign. So the vertex for this one should be positive 8, comma 3. That's it. Here, hk. Remember, h always changes. So vertex is negative 6, comma 2. Remember, k never changes. I put the notes over here, remember before, okay? K never changes, x changes. So let's continue with the next two. Here, h, k. So the vertex is going to be negative 1, comma, negative 4. And here, be careful, guys, because this is k, okay? So if you notice as here, there's no parenthesis like the ones over here. There's no parenthesis here, there's no parenthesis like this. So that means that h has to be 0. So here, the vertex is going to be 0, comma, negative 3. Okay? So when h is not given, it's always going to be 0. And let's say that would be in parentheses. That means that will be h, so k will be 0. So just be careful, okay? So that's what you have to do on your homework, the first 3. Just name the vertex. Now, let's go on the back, and we're going to put a little more, seasoning. So in the back, read the instructions. The only thing I'm asking you here is rewrite the function in vertex form and state the vertex, but using a calculator. So you not even have to, okay? You don't have to like graph and find completing the square. You don't have to do that. So remember, I always recommend you guys that when you're going to graph something, just clear the memory of the calculator so you can get it started from 0. So to clear the calculator, right, you're gonna go to second, right, plus, right, 712. Second plus 712. So now your memory is clear. And what is the advantage of that? Because when you graph something, if you go to the table, you're always going to start from 0. So you can move up or down whatever you need. Okay, so listen to my advices, please. So let's write the equation y equals, because, okay, look, rewrite the function in vector form and state the vertex in the calculator. What it means is, all right, that we have to find the vertex first. So this is like the do now. So my equation is x squared plus 2x. Everybody know how to enter this. And look, once I have my equation, look, this is what I'm talking about. When it looks better here, I guess. Once I have my equation, okay, and also because I cleared out the memory, so when I go to second graph to my table, it begins from 0. obviously you're not going to go down, because if you go down, the numbers are going to get bigger. So you have to use common sense. You have to go up. That's when you graph in the calculator, you graph, if you don't put the vertex in the middle of the table, you get all those big numbers. So I'm going to go up slow until I see that the numbers start repeating here, okay? I'm going to go up. I'm going to go up one more. Bingo. Okay? Do you notice how the y values start repeating? 10 and 10, 5, 5, 2, 2, and 1. So that means that 1, negative 1, 1 is my vertex. That's what I always told you when you graph the table, using the table. The vertex has to go in the middle. So what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to find the vertex. Pick the vertex. What's the vertex here? Negative 1, comma 1. So that's all I need to write my equation. So your first question is going to be, because it says take the vertex. So your vertex, and that what you have to do in the homework, is negative 1, comma 1. That comes from my table, from right here. All right? Now, the rest is easy. To write the equation, I know that's h and that's k. So what I will do is just use my template. F of x equals x. Now remember, because the h is minus, that becomes plus, because h always changes sign. Square plus 1, because k remains positive, because k never changes. And there's your answer right there. So your homework, the next two is going to be something like that. So you have 3, then you have to find the vertex only. 2, when you have to do it this way, find the vertex first, then you can write the equation in vertex form. Now, you're going to have one like this when you have to do completing the square, all right? Because it says here, rewrite each function in vertex form, extend the vertex, and completing the square. So when you do this, you got to write the equation first, then you have to find the vertex. So you're going backwards here. So completing the square, I have to what? Do what? I have to bring the 27 to this side. Remember that, all right? So the 27 will travel, and I will have f of x minus 27, because it traveled, and here I have x squared minus 10x. What am I going to do now? I have to add b divided by 2 squared in both sides. So remember, b here is negative 10, all right? So let me do it right here. So b divided by 2 squared. So because it's negative 10, negative 10 divided by 2 is negative 5, and negative 5 times negative 5 is 25. So that means that I have to add 25 on the left-hand side and 25 on the right-hand side and perform my operation. Bring down the f of x. Negative 27 plus 25 will give me negative 2 equals, okay, x squared minus 10x plus 25. Remember, again, the purpose of adding this part in both sides is to convert this to perfect square trinomial. Okay, so once I have this, before I start moving the 2, don't move the 2 and combine it with this, because you're not going to do the right thing. So that will be x. We keep the sign, which is minus. Half of 10 is 5. And I just square that, right? Bring down the rest. And I have one more step and I'll be finished. So my next step will be what? Bringing the 2 to the other side. And because it's minus, okay, I'm going to do it plus. So when I do that, let me continue here, all right? That will give me already my final answer in vertex form. So I will have f of x, all right, equals, I'm going to copy my perfect square trinomial, x minus 5 squared plus 2. And I already have the equation in vertex form. So that will be the answer for that as a vertex form. So these two are exactly the same. Standard form, vertex form. So now I have to write the vertex, all right? HK. So remember, the vertex in this case is going to be positive 5, comma 2. Remember, H always changes, K never changes. So I don't think it's that complicated, all right? So on your homework, you're gonna have just one like that. Let's do one more, okay? We're not gonna do number 3 because number 3 ends up in a fraction, and since you're not going to be taking the regions, so I guess I just like to go easy on you. Well, the one that are going to be the class, the one that repeating, they're probably going to take it next year because they're not going to get away with that. So now look at number 3. Number 3 is an incomplete quadratic because I don't get the final, I don't get the last term, I don't have the constant. So that's even easy because save me one step. I don't have to actually move anything to the other side. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to automatically find the value of add b divided by 2 squared in both sides. B here is 8, right? So if I substitute b for 8 and I divide that by 2 and square it, I'm going to have 16 because 8 divided by 2 is 4 and 4 squared is 16. So I still have to add 16 to this side, okay? So I'm going to do plus 16 here and plus 16 there. I'm going to continue my process. So I will have in the left side f of x plus 16 equals x squared plus 8x plus 16. That becomes a perfect square trinomial. So I'm going to keep my x, my plus, what is helpful, 8, 4, and I'm going to square that. All right? Forget about the 16 because remember, 4 plus 4 is 8, and 4 times 4 is 16. So I'm going to bring down whatever I have in my left hand side, and now the 16 will travel to the other side. So my vertex form of that equation will be f of x equals x plus 4 squared minus 16. So that is the vertex form of that one. Okay? So now, what is the vertex? That's h and that's k. So the vertex for that problem is going to be -4 comma -16. And I have done another one. So like I said before, I don't think it's that difficult because you already know how to use completing the square, right? So now why I'm going to do one more. Like I say, I'm going to skip number 4, because that's going to be a fraction, and I'm going to do the last one. Now the last one is the other way around. The last one, they're giving me the standard, the vertex form, and they want me to try it in the standard form. I put one of these on the extra credit that I have given you before, guys, and some of you still make mistakes because some of you, what they're doing is this. What you're doing is, like, they think that the only thing they have to do is just multiply x times x and 3 times 3, and they will write x squared plus 9, and that's wrong. So what you have to do is this. Remember, this is a perfect square trinomial. I know the answer is going to be x squared minus 6x plus 9 because I know the rules, but you don't remember the rules, so you have to do is write this 2 times and FOIL it. You got to do the FOIL before you start combining line terms. Remember that, okay? So when we do FOIL, we do x times x, which is x squared, x times -2, that's -3x. -3 times x is -3x, and -3 times -3 is +9. Now I can bring down the 4. And remember, because we're writing equation or function, you have to have the other side of the equation. So now when I combine like terms, just what I told you before, right? X squared minus 6x. Now, in this case, it's not going to be plus 9 as I predicted. Why? Because I have another number that is constant. So in this case, when I combine that, that will give me +5. So that will be your answer for that. So I already convert the vertex form to standard form. So that concludes the lesson. All right, I hope you guys take your time to, look at the video and to listen every single thing that I said. And the homework from this lesson is going to be due Tuesday, okay, the 19th, because you have tomorrow and you have Monday to review the lesson. So Tuesday you have enough time to do the homework. It's going to be one like this, okay, the last one. It's going to be another one like that when you have to complete the square, just one. And another one when you have to do the calculator using the vertex, 2 of those, and 3 of this. All right, 3 of this. So just do your best you can, all right, and don't quit, don't give up, all right. Stay safe, and I'll see you next time.